Alabama against Georgia, SEC championship game. Now, Georgia pretty much needs to win this one in order to make it to the playoffs. If they lose, it's the end of a great season, and they won't be in the playoffs. Of course, Alabama has been absolutely dominant this year against any team where they weren't favored by more than 50 points. We know that Alabama tends to not like to, give enough of an effort to cover 50-point spreads against team that they are absolutely, orders of magnitude better than, but against teams where they're getting, other competitive quality SEC teams where whatever, they're a 21-point road favorite, giving 25.5 here and there. Alabama has been great this year. Georgia, though, has covered 5 out of their last 7, and you know that Georgia is going to leave it all on the table here. I definitely don't want to bet against Alabama here. I do think, though, that the under might be a good play. It's a high total here, 63.5. We remember, of course, last year in the championship game, it was a relatively modest scoring game at the 26-23. Georgia, that their strategy here is going to be to try to limit possessions, and I'm thinking the under the high total, 63.5, might be a great bet. What do you think, Joe Gavassi?
Well, my selection here could be suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Let's quantify all the excellence that we've all heard this year about Alabama. 12-0 straight up, of course, 8-3 against the spread, beating the line by a combined 58 points for the year, net 58 points for the year. And most impressively, every victory has come by 20 or more points, the first time that has ever been achieved in college football history. Quarterback Tua, making his debut in the second half last year, championship game against Georgia, has continued his excellence this year with 70% completions and an incredible, unheard of 36-2 ratio. In all, Alabama's gaining 538 yards overland and an unspeakable 8 yards per play, winning games by an average of 35 points per game. Who could ever fade that? But if there's one team in the SEC who I believe capable of breaking that stranglehold, it will be these Georgia Bulldogs. They actually have the confidence of playing Alabama right down to the wire last year. In fact, leading the game at halftime 13-0 before Tua made his appearance and eventually led the Tide to the 26-23 win. My final arbiter in this game is my highly successful running dog theory of statistical teams in this role as underdog, especially as double-digit dog, along with the fact they are one of my defensive dandies, have the confidence of playing this team even last year, and the motivation of needing this win to get to the Final Four this year. I'm going to favor Georgia Bulldogs, woof, in the SEC championship game.
Wow. I'm actually, it actually caught my attention more that you said you're going to act it. The words came out of your mouth. I'm going to take the Georgia Bulldogs here. Then the actual animal sound that you made. I'm going to go under here on official play. I'm going to take under 63.5 minus 110. It opened at 64. I think that, I think that if Georgia does manage to cover here, it's very likely because they are successful in slowing down the game, making it a lower scoring game. So I'm going to go with this. I'm going to make under 63.5 minus 110 an official play. As far as the spread is concerned, let's do a little line shopping for you here at SBRodds.com, Joe Gavassi, and find you the best line, split line right now, 13 or 13.5. So we can go to Bookmaker and give you plus 13.5, minus 108. Of course, this line opened at 10.5. That was a surprisingly low line to me, just in light of how Alabama has done, at just obliterating all comers against the spread when they're not, when they don't have a spread in the stratosphere. So here we have a spread at 10.5, and I strongly suspected that strong money would come in on Alabama. Joe Gavassi is going to take Georgia plus 13.5 minus 108. I'm on the under. Ian Cameron, what do you think?
You know what? Joe's reaching into his bag of tricks today.
Yes.
Multiple animal sounds today on the final show of Presnap Reads. That's big time stuff right there.
It is.
And you thought I only did cat noises.
No, exactly. This guy is ambidextrous. He can do it all. Exactly. He's got multiple tricks up his sleeve, Joe Gavassi.
Look at Ian Cameron avoiding the very, very, very tough question. How do you bet on Alabama here? How do you bet against them? I understand, Ian Cameron. What's your take on this one?
I'm looking long and hard at making a case for Georgia in this game as well. Believe it or not. Here's the thing with Georgia. Here's the thing with Alabama.
Okay.
They have been remarkable. They have been absolutely phenomenal offensively with Tua. This offense has been putting up points in bunches. How many great elite level defenses have they played this season? Mississippi State and LSU, and I believe those were their two lowest scoring output games this season, the Bulldogs and the Tigers. Now, they still won those games and they still covered in those games. To me, I saw some chinks in the Alabama defense last week against Auburn. Auburn moved the ball for extended stretches in that game, and that's an Auburn offense that has been disappointing. That's an Auburn offense that hasn't been very good at all for extended time this season. And Auburn, I thought, moved the ball at times in that game against Alabama last week in Tuscaloosa. Georgia can do that. I'm seeing Jake Fromm play better and better as the season's progressed. Swift, the running back's been phenomenal. They don't miss Chubb and Michelle as much with him carrying the football. The defense, again, Alabama's going to get their points, but they've got to get their points and win by more than 2 touchdowns against a Georgia team that has proven last year, of course, in the national championship game that they can hang toe-to-toe with Alabama. As long as I can get a 14, and I'm holding out hope, Pete, that we see 14. But, hey, this is the last show. We got to try to throw out some official picks here. Even though it's not my optimal number yet, it's still less than 14. Give me Georgia official play here against Alabama, 13.5.
See, maybe my read on this game is off, but tell me what you think, Ian Cameron. I'm thinking that based on everything you said, is Georgia going to be able to hang in with, hang with within 2 touchdowns or not? Not exactly sure. That's a tough question. I think a much easier question is, what is the pace of this game likely to be? Now, I thought the same thing was going to happen with the Ohio State game against Michigan, and I was totally wrong on that one. But this is a little bit of a different situation. Georgia wants to try it any way they can to sneak out a win here. Alabama doesn't need to impress anyone. Do you not like the under here, Ian Cameron, at the very high total?
I'd lean under. Like I say, I'm not getting a good read with Alabama totals this season. I stay out of it because you can just never know. But at this number, it's too high for me to play it over, Pete. Right now, I can tell you that. It's just too high of a plateau right now, given Georgia's propensity to want to control the clock, and that's exactly what they're going to want to do. Run the football heavy, try to keep Tua and that Alabama offense off the field as long as possible. If we have a couple drives that Georgia can muster out, crank out 5-minute, 6-minute, 7-minute drives, multiple drives of that length during this football game, that's going to make it a lot harder to get over this kind of plateau, looking at 63.5. So if I play this game, I'm looking at it under, but I'm just going to stick to the side here.
What's the argument against the under? You just made all the points that I would make to myself if I was looking at this game, thinking the under is probably a great play. Not a lock. No. 57% play, probably.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's offense is good, but their defense is better than their offense. And Alabama's defense and Alabama's offense, to me, is going to get some resistance. Like if Alabama scores, 24, 31 in this game, I don't think they're going to get a whole lot more than that. I don't see them shredding and taking apart this Georgia Bulldogs defense. Like 24 against Mississippi State, 29 against LSU. I think ballpark range, Georgia probably holds Alabama into something in that range, high 20s, low 30s at the most. I don't think Alabama just completely carves up this Georgia defense. And if that's the case, I don't think Georgia's going to hit 30s in this game at all. So to me, I'm looking under the total. I really think Alabama's offense is going to meet some of the biggest resistance they've seen this season out of this Georgia defense.
All right. Well, you're still not going to take a shot with the under. You're just going to take Georgia. I'll tell you what we can do. We can do this for you as well.
Here's the problem, Pete. I just want to mention this quickly. When I bet an under, it loses. That's the problem with me betting under.
So it's a personal
I have terrible luck with them. Yep.
So when Ian Cameron bets unders, they lose. He's not betting this one. That makes me like it even more. I think the under might be a great play here. And as far as Georgia's concerned, if you want to buy to 14, Ian Cameron, at Pinnacle right now, we could give you Georgia plus 14, minus 115. You like that one better?
That's excellent. Absolutely. Or, if there's a 14 out there, I will take it.
Well, it's not there. It's not there at Pinnacle, but you can buy to 14 at minus 115.
That's fine. Minus 115 is not bad. To get 14, sign me up.
Okay. And how about you, Joe Gavassi? Would you prefer 13.5 minus 108 or 14 minus 115?
I will absolutely lay the extra juice and go for the extra half point.
Okay.
Pushing it to 14.
All right. Sounds good. So Ian Cameron and Joe Gavassi are going to be on Georgia plus 14 minus 115. Now on the under 63.5 minus 110.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.